All right, welcome everybody to the April 2023 Community Forum for the Living in Place Institute. My name is Louis Delaware, and today we've got two wonderful companies with us, TOTO Toilets along with QuickDrain USA. And just for everybody's reference, this session is being recorded and should be up on our website in about 7 days. So here's me. Again, most of you know who I am, but nonetheless, I'm the president and founder of the Living in Place Institute. I'm at the end of the presentation, I'm going to go through some information. Some people here may not be aware of what's going on in regards to my home that was involved in the Marshall wildfire about a year and a quarter ago, but I'll get into that at that point in time. We do have some just ground rules that we just want everybody to be nice and courteous, especially in the chat session, because we're all, want to be courteous to everybody. So make it positive, keep it clean, and respect everybody's privacy. So today we've got Mike Harrigan. I'm gonna let Mike introduce himself. I've known Mike probably going on for about 7+ years now with TOTO USA out of the Chicago area. So Mike, just tell me when you want me to advance slides.
Thanks, Louis. I will do that. All right, are we ready to begin?
We're going.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Harrigan. I am sales director in the Midwest for TOTO. Been with TOTO. This is my 22nd year. So feel free to ask questions as we go along, and we'll get to them when we're done. I just, I want to say that TOTO has been a partner with the Living in Place Institute and Louis for a number of years, and we've been proud ever since day one. And unfortunately, because of the Marshall wildfire, here we are partnering again. We're very, proud to be partnering again for, for a event that we wish never happened, but we're proud to be moving forward, and we wish we could help all the folks who suffered during the Marshall wildfire. But with that, I'll begin because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I just wanted to start by letting everybody know who TOTO is. TOTO has been the world's largest manufacturer of plumbing fixtures for many years. Founded in 1917 in Japan, over 26,000 employees. TOTO's about a $6 billion company that came to the U.S. in about, you can go to the next slide, Louis. They came to the U.S. in about 1989, preparing for the law to change to low consumption toilets, and built manufacturing headquarters and corporate headquarters in Atlanta, and then has expanded throughout South America into California. So we have really planted a flag, I guess you could say, in the United States. So product comes from the US, product comes from all over the world as well. I am just going to make sure my timer's running. If anyone ever would like to visit TOTO, you can certainly go to Atlanta, but in a lot of cases, it's easier to come to Chicago or New York or Los Angeles, where we have TOTO corporate showrooms. So if you'd like to learn more, please visit us at one of our showrooms. This is our Chicago gallery, which is where I'm based from. I'm not there today, but go ahead, Louis. So as we talk about products today, we take a total design approach, meaning that these products are good for young and old and folks of any ability. Next slide, please. So whether that's toilets or faucets or showers or washlet bidet seats, whatever it is, we want to make that bathroom the most accessible for users of all ages, whether it be children, young adults, or folks who are living in place. Next slide, Louis. So why is that important today? Because really, nearly 1 in 5 people have a disability. And the probability of having a severe disability is 1 in 20 for folks who are 15 to 24, but it becomes 1 in 4 for those 65 to 69. And it progressively moves up, obviously, from age, 24 up. So we also have American baby boomers retiring at a rate of over 10,000 a day these days. Slightly older study here, but regardless, that holds true. So understanding how folks can live in place most safely is how manufacturers need to look at the way they build products, and that's what TOTO's been doing for a long time, for decades. Next slide, please, Louis. So we'll talk a little bit about some living in place products, and we'll start with toilets. So when we look at, go ahead, Louis, please. So if we look at toilets, we can look at one-piece toilets or two-piece toilets or wall-hung toilets. Next slide. There's a little bit about what they all look like. We'll briefly talk about tankless toilets down there at the bottom right, because it kind of brings all of the technology into one. Next slide. So most importantly, and first and foremost would be the height of the toilet. Years ago, toilets would be 14 inches off the floor, 14 to 15. That was pretty standard. And it was really like some things in life, it was accepted, but didn't make it right, didn't make it safe, and it didn't make it accessible. So what that has become is what TOTO calls universal height. There's other names out there in the business called comfort height or right height, but TOTO's version of this is universal height. And the idea is that it's universal for everyone. It's accessible and comfortable for everyone. That's universal height, based on one of the principles of universal design. So that would be 16 1/8 inches off the floor. Then with the seat, it's over 17, which makes it compliant with ADA codes and standards. Next slide, thanks. So then we move into wall-hung toilets, whether they be commercial on the right or residential on the left, which really we're more focused on residential today. But we'll talk about these for a brief minute. All of those toilets that we talked about, or the wall-hung toilets that we're looking at right now, really pretty much use the same flushing system. And for TOTO, it's called the tornado. And that means swirling water around the bowl from the top down and eliminating those little rim holes. And the idea is certainly a better user experience, but also conserving water efficiently. So when those little rim holes can clog, they can cause they can create an area that doesn't get cleaned in the bowl. Generally, they don't clean the bowl very well as it is. There's really no power behind them. Water just trickles through, which at the end of the day means that folks are more likely to flush a second time, which then defeats the purpose of trying to conserve water. So what we did was create that tornado effect, which has a jet on each side of the bowl and a smooth channel, and that water flows through that smooth channel, around that smooth channel, to, again, offer a better user experience, but also conserve water because you're flushing effectively. Next slide, Lee. So this would be an example of a floor-mounted toilet called the Drake 2. And next we'll go into, I think, a video. Yes. Oh, so give it a second to load, Louis. I checked it this morning and it should, there we go. Again, this is the video, this is the flushing system that's built into the wall-hung toilets and floor-mounted toilets and basically everything TOTO does. So I wanted everyone to just briefly see what I'm talking about when I say tornado. So the Cepheon-Tex glaze is a baked-in finish that creates a glass-like smoother surface that allows the bowl to stay cleaner. So that smooth surface is easier to clean. It's easier to keep clean. And as you saw there, that's how the tornado is working. It's this tornado effect from two different sides of the bowl, swirls water around the bowl, keeps the bowl clean, evacuates the bowl. So you've got that tornado effect, you've got the Cepheon-Tex glaze. Again, offering a better user experience, but also conserving water. When we refer to water spot, we refer to a standard water spot. When you had 3.5 gallons in a toilet many years ago, it was just an obscene amount of water, in my opinion, and it was like a big pool of water, and it just seemed like a waste. And so, of course, 1.6 gallon per flush toilets, which is the code now, make a lot more sense, but that we're moving more towards 1.28 gallons per flush or 1 gallon per flush, which TOTO has done for many years, both of those. Okay, Louis. So wall hung toilets. Originally designed for wall hung use, they became popular in the hospitality markets and commercial markets, of course, but because of accessibility requirements, say in public facilities, whether it be hotels, hospitality, or whatever the case may be, they offer a better turn radius inside that space. You can go to the next slide, Louis. So that wall hung toilet, you eliminate about 10 inches of space when you have a wall hung toilet as opposed to a floor mounted toilet with a tank. So that 10 inches of space allows for a turning radius, for instance, for a wheelchair. It creates a safer, more accessible space inside that bathroom. So the wall hung toilets would mount on a carrier, as you see there, which would go into a 2x4 or 2x6 inch wall. So it's kind of like a window, if you will. While it's not the same as installing a toilet on the floor, it becomes very a standard practice to install it in the wall, again, as a 2x6 or 2x4 inch installation. Why don't you advance? Thank you. Okay, so I attached the wrong video, and this one happens to be 14 minutes, so I apologize. But I selected a few spots in the video this morning, so we could look at what we're talking about. And you can just advance a little bit at a time, Louis. So that's a finished product right there. That's what the finished product looks like. There you go. There's a good view of what we're starting with. Okay, we're installing that carrier inside the wall, and then the toilet ultimately gets installed on that carrier. So Louis, if you went to 317 roughly, 310 is fine. So we are installing that carrier into the wall. We have our drain coming up from the floor. Then let's go to 550. That's good. So once that carrier is installed in the wall, then we're installing the support wall onto that, against that carrier into the studs. So all of your plumbing comes through that support wall. Once your carrier is installed in your 2x4 in your wall, everything comes through that support, which is then also what the toilet is hanging on. And then then your wall becomes finished. You lay your floor, you do your wall, and then what you're left with is everything, as you can see there, coming out of the wall, ready for your toilet. So Louis, if you went to 1005, that would be good. Oh, you know what? That area right there, that's how you access the any sort of service issues. They're all accessible from that actuator plate visible in the room, your decorative actuator plate. That's how you access that carrier that we just looked at that's inside the wall. Okay, Louis, 1005 maybe. So again, you've got rods coming out of the wall from the carrier. You're installing your drain. Let's go to 1055. So everything came out of the wall, drain, rods to support the toilet. The toilet gets installed onto all that, and then we're almost there. Louis, if you could go to 1241. And then, of course, you have the ability to install a washlet on that wall hung toilet. So we're going to talk about washlets in a second, but these toilets are specifically designed for washlets, as all TOTO toilets are, but these are also designed to conceal the cord. As you can see, they went through a little hole in the china, which is a very fun and exciting advancement that TOTO came up with years ago to hide the cord and the electrical cord and the water supply. So Louis, okay, I think we're pretty much done. If we want to see a finished product by just, okay, good, here we go. So this is an example of that product then installed in a wall. And it's called Washlet Plus. When you hide that cord and water supply, you can see on the far left picture, that's called Washlet Plus. So you're able to conceal the water supply and the electrical cord inside the china. Okay, Louis, go ahead. So we've been talking about bidet seats and what TOTO calls a washlet. So I wanted to talk about that briefly, if I could. Next slide. So a washlet is a bidet seat. It's an electronic toilet seat with bidet functions. It was started in 1980 in Japan. And this graphic needs to be updated because as of the end of last year, TOTO's up to 60 million seats sold worldwide. So this is a product that cleans you with warm aerated water, mounts on the toilet, and it's a life-changing product. And you can advance, Louis. So the seat's heated, the water is heated. There's an air purifier. There's a dryer. So you have a front cleanse and a rear cleanse, different positions for that wand that you can see there that cleans you. Louis, why don't you advance? So these are the different models, starting with the C2 up there in the top left that has an arm control. Then the C5 has a remote control. Those two are a little taller because they have a reservoir that heats a certain amount of water. So the others on the bottom, the S500, S550, those other four, as well as what's up there, the G450, those all have instantaneous hot water heaters. So on one hand, you've got a set amount of water for the C2 or C5, and then all the other washlets and G450 and or Neorest have an instantaneous hot water heater. So washlet or washlet plus, let's continue, Louis. Washlet plus are those seats that mount onto certain TOTO toilets that have that hole. So they're going to have that hole, which allows you to conceal the water supply and the electrical cord, as opposed to both of those coming out the side and being more visible, which, since 1980, it's been fine. But this is a real nice product advancement to, again, conceal that cord. And that's what the bowl would look like. If you don't choose to do a washlet seat on that day, you can conceal that hole with a standard soft close seat. But so here, a couple of product folks speaking about product. One would be Sandra Harding, who was in an auto accident, and it left her with deficits, being weak in her arms and hands and legs. So that in the TOTO washlet has really enhanced her life and allowed her to care for herself. Or Kenneth on the right-hand side, who actually had surgery, and it improved the quality of his life at that point and beyond. So whether it's a day-to-day lifetime issue that we deal with, or it's a temporary issue, or just wanting to be more hygienic in the restroom, the washlet is a wonderful product. So when we talk about clean synergy, we're talking about, for instance, the Cepheon-Tect glaze in the bowl, the extra glazing in the bowl. We're talking about the way the washlets have a feature called e-water. So clean synergy is bringing all of the hygiene aspects of the seat or the cleaning the bowl together. And why don't you advance, Louis? We'll show you. So e-water basically is a system in that when you get up from a seated position from having been seated on a washlet, when you get up, the water, the seat will electrolyze a little bit of water. So it electrically charges a little bit of water, which creates a mild cleaning solution that will then mist the bowl. So it's literally helping keep the bowl clean. So it's that mild cleaning agent will clean the wand, and then it will help clean the bowl with a misting spray. And Louis, if you advance, we will show a video. Let's do that. And I've just got a couple more slides, so we're almost done. So the seat mounts onto any toilet, really, as long as the tank and bowl are more of a kind of a 90-degree angle. The seat just slides back on. All of the seats have a pre-mist, so they will sense you and they will mist the bowl and get the bowl wet. And the idea is if the bowl's wet, it's going to stay cleaner than a dry bowl. There's rear cleanse aerated, rear cleanse non-aerated, front cleanse aerated, front cleanse non-aerated. All you do is press that same front or rear spray a second time. You can adjust pressure of the water. You can adjust the position of that wand because everyone's different and we need that adjustability. Fourth button down is oscillate. There we go. The wand moves automatically for you. Then there's also pulsate. And then when you're done, there's a dryer. So I'll be honest, I don't always spend the time for the dryer, but if someone was less mobile, that dryer would become very important. Then the e-water, as we saw there, the toilet has created this electrolyzed water solution that cleans the wand and then sprays the bowl and does the same thing for the bowl. So just as you're designing, don't forget to add the outlet. That's all we ask. I mean, this is probably the biggest trend in the plumbing business today. So to add the outlet early makes all the difference for later. As a manufacturer, TOTO, on the left-hand side of that slide, TOTO tries to understand what folks with limited mobility live with, whether it's deficits in eyesight or general mobility. That's how we try to build products to enhance folks' lives. So then if we take the next step of the washlet would be the G450, which is a little more of an integrated toilet washlet combination unit. Again, very integrated looking, all the same features as we talked about with the washlet, same features, same flushing system, basically, same Cephion Tech glaze in the bowl, just a slightly more integrated look. Next slide, Louis. So I think we already went through this. I think this, let it load and let's take a look, Louis. You could probably just go through it. Yeah, why don't you advance a little bit? We've probably seen a fair amount of it. Yeah, just keep advancing a little bit. So again, Cephion Tech glaze, tornado flush, washlet integrated into the product. There's your tornado flush. This happens to be a dual flush toilet, so you have the ability to flush 1.28 or 1 gallon, and then a liquid flush with 0.8 tenths of a gallon. You've got the pre-mist when you enter the room to get the bowl wet, and then you've got the tornado flush, which again we think is going to keep the bowl a lot cleaner and conserve water. Next slide, Louis. So then taking that together, mixing the washlet and the toilet, you've got the washlet plus toilets, then you've got the G450, and then an even more integrated look would be TOTO's flagship product called the NeoRest. Next slide. which is comprised of these products here, the RH, AH. There is a wall hung version called the AC or EW, the 700, 750, and NX1, NX2. That is the lineup of Neorest products. Really, all the features are the same as we talked about: flushing system, Cepheon text glaze. There is a system, or two of the products have a product called Actolite. So it's go to the next slide, would you, Louis, please? So the Actolite has an ultraviolet light in the lid. I don't know if I included it here, but has an ultraviolet light in the lid, and then the bowl is treated with a titanium oxide coating. So that titanium oxide coating is always mixing light with oxygen and the pre-mist from the seat, and it's always helping keep the bowl clean. And that ultraviolet light also does a nice cleanup on the bowl when the lid closes. But again, features are very similar to what we talked about before. It's just a question of how it looks. And if I didn't say, if I could go back one slide, Louis, I know I said this again, but I'm going to say it a second time. Just whatever you do, consider adding an outlet, because that's really critical in the design phase in order to add these products into a client's home or into your home. And with that, I hope I've got a timer going, and I went a little long, and I'm very sorry. But I thank you for all your for your time being here. And I see Barbara said, wasn't TOTO the first to introduce low water usage? And yes, because of codes and standards in Asia, TOTO, yes, came to the US with years of experience making low consumption toilets work. So preparing for that law to change, which it did in '92, TOTO came to the US in about '89, knowing that law was about to change. So we came here with a product that had been tested and proven in other parts of the world.
So Mike, you mentioned the various facilities, the Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. All those indeed have working washlets?
Oh, yes. Oh, goodness. Yes, sir.
So if you're in the area, it's worth, if you've never tried one, it's worth going there. The other thing that you mentioned about the wall hung toilet that I like about it is that it takes up less floor space, if you will. It allows an easier access for somebody who may be using a wheelchair or walker to get in and out of it. I think you had a slide up there that said 50 million seats. Aren't you?
We're up to 60 now.
I was going to say, aren't you closer to 60 million seats sold?
We certainly are, and I struggled to find a new graphic of that and couldn't. And next time we do this or anything else I publish, it'll be 60, but I couldn't find a 60 million. We hit that mark at the end of last year.
And then
so that's very exciting.
And then lastly, isn't e-water more or less the same thing that you see being sprayed onto vegetables and fruit in grocery stores?
So yes, Louis, thank you. If you go in, when you're in a newer, within the last 15 years grocery store, when you see those misters misting the vegetables, generally that's going to be electrically charged water. So that's going to be a very similar system, because it kills airborne bacteria and it's completely safe. So that's what we call e-water or electrolyzed water. Correct.
Well, Mike, thanks for your wonderful presentation today. It's always nice to even learn more about your products, especially the newer ones. So,
thanks,
all right.
Lou. It's an honor to be here and an honor to be a partner. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Next up, Darryl. Darryl, I think you need to unmute your microphone. And perhaps bring your video back to life if you're there. I hope you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. You want to put your video up, or there you go? I think you're getting it up. All right. All yours, sir.
Hi. Well, welcome everyone. Today we're going to go over a little bit of curbless shower design with consideration for universal showers. You can advance.
Come on.
The learning objectives for today are going to be advantages of a trench or channel drain, construction challenges of a universally designed shower, and then trench drains and construction of a UD shower. We're going to go through a little bit of drain history. We're also going to take a look at water flow in a four-way compound slope. Compare that to water flow, one plane to one line, freedom of child choice, ease of install, and then infectious control. So now we're going to go through a little bit of Curveless 101. We need to have a better understanding about what's going on underneath that drain cover. I promise you're not going to be bored, but you're going to be happy with the information that you receive. Everyone considers linear or trench drains to be new, but they're actually the very first form of drainage in human history. All of your Roman, Greek, and bathhouses had trench drains. They had it figured out way back then, create a slope within a building, get the water to flow into a trench by which they could evacuate it out of the building. It was a perfect system as it stood back then. Somewhere along in history, these four wise guys came up with the circle and screwed it up for everybody. With the circle comes your four-way compound slope. So the location of that drain in most cases will also dictate what size tile you can use. If the drain gets pushed a little bit further back, you're going to have to use a smaller tile because you're having to create that four-way compound slope. But like we said before, it was a perfect system as it existed. Now, your number one obstacle when creating a curveless shower is going to be your two-piece clamping collar. This is the piece that your drain cover actually attaches to, and it's responsible for the amount of buildup or recess that you're going to need to do within that shower. You're going to have a minimum buildup of 1 3/4 inches to a maximum of 2 3/4. If you're using a linear drain that requires the use of a two-piece clamping collar, that's actually going to bump you up to about 2 3/4 to 3 3/4 in height. Now, your static flow rates when it comes to a linear drain mostly depends on location within that shower. If you're designing a linear drain with a curb, it can handle anywhere between 10 to 12 gallons per minute. If you're designing a curveless shower and you locate the drain at the back wall, it can handle anywhere between 10 to 12 gallons per minute. Now, the principle behind this is that once you add a curb, you've pretty much created a vessel, at which point water can wait to drain. If you locate the drain at the back wall, since the slope is always headed towards the drain, it has time to fill up that space. So it's not quite as in a hurry to drain in that particular location. Now, whenever you're designing a curveless shower and you move that drain to the entry, your flow rate is going to drop down to 5 to 6 gallons per minute because there's nothing holding that water back. These are static flow rates depending on a 2-inch outlet, so it doesn't matter who you use, but if it's a 2-inch outlet and you're locating the drain at the entry for a curveless shower, your flow rate is going to be anywhere between 5 to 6 gallons per minute. Now, here we have a client that wants a shower head, hand shower, and 3 body sprays. For sake of argument, we'll say each item is putting out 2.5 gallons per minute, bringing you to a grand total of 12.5 gallons per minute with everything running at the same time. We're going to go through and check which ones are right and then which ones are wrong. We know bottom left is right because it's located at the back wall. The one with the curb is going to be correct. The one up top, the one down below is going to be wrong. Now, with the standard flow rates being reduced down to 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons per item, if you know the valving you're using within that shower, let's just say it's a pressure balance valve, you're far within the limits of having that drain at the entry. However, as soon as you bump up to a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch thermostat, then that drain needs to be located at that back wall location. So here we have an example of a traditional 4-way compound slope. You also hear this called a center point drain because it's in the center of a 4-way compound slope. You're always going to have a little bit of standing water on the perimeter because that's where your slope begins. And then as that water picks up speed and collects the rest of the droplets, it'll soon make its entry into that center point drain. Alrighty, next slide. So here we have an example of a linear drain that's in the wall. So you're only sloping in one direction to one line. That's going to give you the ability to use a large format tile and actually cut down on the amount of grout lines in that shower to make it easier to clean. Within that drain, you have integrated slopes built into the bottom, and you also have a funnel that's channeling the water from the corner of that shower down the center of that outlet. Okay, next slide. Infectious control. If you're working within the healthcare segment, one of the best uses of a linear drain is the ability to run that drain wall to wall or vertical surface to vertical surface. This is going to give you the ability to use a large format tile and reduce the amount of grout lines within that shower for infectious control. Number one material of choice when dealing with a healthcare facility is going to be stainless steel. Healthcare loves stainless steel because of the antimicrobial benefits of using stainless steel. Waterproofing types. We're going to go over topical liquid, topical sheet, pan, and then clamping collar waterproofing options. Topical liquid waterproofing. Topical liquid waterproofing is a liquid that dries to a rubber-like consistency. 80% of the market is using some form of a topical liquid waterproofing. It's very, very easy to install because it's usually rolled on or painted on. You have to have a minimum of 2 coats before you can proceed to your tile install. With that being said, most of the manufacturers have actually put a coloring agent within the topical liquid waterproofing to let the installer know when it's fully cured. An example to the bottom right, light red means it's been freshly applied. Dark red means that it's fully cured. It can take anywhere between 12 to 24 hours to apply 2 coats of topical liquid waterproofing. It just depends on the humidity in that area, as that affects the curing time of the topical liquid waterproofing. Topical sheet waterproofing. Topical sheet waterproofing is like a roofing membrane. It's very, very difficult to tear. However, if someone's not paying attention and drives a nail through it, they'll create a leak point. Now, some of your main benefits of using a topical sheet waterproofing over a topical liquid waterproofing is going to be speed of install. With the topical sheet waterproofing, you can use a rapid set or a speed set, thin set, and be laying tile in 4 to 6 hours. When you compare that to a topical liquid waterproofing, you're going to be anywhere between 12 to 24 hours, depending on the humidity in the area. So the quickest method of waterproofing is going to be topical liquid. Fastest method of waterproofing is going to be topical sheet. Pan waterproofing. If you live in the areas of Chicago, New York, or Jersey, they're still using copper and lead pans as a form of waterproofing. Not to be confused with an acrylic shower pan. The acrylic shower pan would actually set inside the copper pan as a secondary method of waterproofing. Clamping collar waterproofing options. Any shower that you see that we know of today would be considered a clamping collar waterproofing option. If you live in the areas of California, Arizona, or Nevada, they have a process called hot mop. Hot mop is like a roofing or a roadway tar that they use as a method of waterproofing. Due to the heat of the material, they sometimes require the use of a cast iron 2-piece clamping collar. But always remember, to reduce the amount of recess or buildup that you need to do within the shower, you need to make sure that your linear drain can attach directly to the waste pipe. Trench drain construction of a UD shower. We're going to revisit vertical surface to vertical surface or wall to wall, the use of a correct linear drain, planning, and then the pros and cons of various installs. Wall to wall. Think of a linear drain like butter on bread. You always want to go crust to crust. In every situation, you want to make sure that you're catching as much water as possible within that space. It becomes very important once you locate that drain at the entry, because any gap you leave on the outside is going to allow water to escape out of that shower. The use of a correct linear drain. Make sure that whatever linear drain you're using can be attached directly to the waste pipe. As you can see, if I took that linear drain above in red and placed it on the two-piece clamping collar on the left, it's only going to increase the amount of buildup or recess that you need to do within that shower. Looking at the middle picture, you have an example of a drain that didn't go wall to wall. What's going to happen in that situation is you're going to have standing water on the left and on the back wall. Reason for that is that there's no way to create a slope with those two tiles without exposing the unfinished edge of that tile. The drain on the right, you're probably going to have standing water on the left, back wall, and right, and a little bit at the front of the drain because there's no way to create a slope with a large format tile. Planning, we're going to take a look at various scenarios. We're also going to go over, revisit the gallons per minute, and then we'll also go over cover usage and then the pros and cons. So here we have a drain installed at the back wall, and it's right up against the back wall. Pro, best possible placement for a linear drain. This is according to the consumer because they haven't gotten used to water flowing towards the entry. Any cover can be used in this type of install. And as we discussed before, at that location, it can handle anywhere between 10 to 12 gallons per minute. Your con is going to be that it's going to require a recess in the floor. And it's also going to require a skilled installer because there's no room for error since it's butted up against the back wall. Here we have a drain located at the entry. We know that this can handle anywhere between 5 to 6 gallons per minute. Pro, easiest to install for a curbless shower. Will not require the subfloor to be recessed. Most popular method of install because it's the easiest. When you're specifying a cover for any drain installed at the entry, you want to make sure that you see the accessibility logo or the ADA logo by that cover. That means that it's been rated and tested for install at the entry. Cons, not widely perceived to be the best placement. Thanks, Louis. Capillary break and leveling of drain is important. Plumbing placement is essential. And what we mean by that is that drain needs to always be at least 2 to 3 inches towards the inside of that shower. Here we have a drain located at the back wall, but this time it's a little bit off the back wall. Pro, best possible placement according to the consumer, mainly because the water flow isn't towards the entry. Any cover can be used in this type of situation. This can handle anywhere between 10 to 12 gallons per minute. It will not require a skilled installer because since we pulled it off that back wall, there's room for error. However, your major con is still going to be that it's going to require a recess in the floor. Here we have a neo angle. Make sure that whatever cover you specify has the accessibility logo or the ADA logo by that cover. At this location can handle 5 to 6 gallons per minute. Pro, simple install, does not require a skilled installer. Cons, the only placement for a linear drain. And what we mean by that is I probably would have used one of the longer walls towards the interior of that neo angle. Capillary break and leveling of drain is still important. So here we have another drain located at the entry. Pro, easiest install for a curbless shower. Will not require the subfloor to be recessed. Most popular method because it's the easiest. Cons, not widely perceived to be the best placement according to the consumer. However, in this type of install, those 2 wing walls will help that customer feel a lot more secure about having the drain at the entry. Capillary break and leveling of drain is important. Plumbing placement is essential. And notice I didn't take the drain and just put it in the doorway. I bumped it towards the interior so I can maximize how much water I can catch in that environment. So here are some examples of some covers. So you have your top 2 covers with the accessibility logo. That means they've been rated and tested for install at the entry. One of the tests that these covers have to pass is what they call the bariatric weight of a wheelchair. And that's where they weight down a wheelchair and they roll it over the cover to make sure that that cover is not going to bend or deflect. Bottom 2 covers are examples of covers that did not pass that test. One of the worst covers you can use at the entry is a tile end cover. It's going to be your smallest opening out of all your covers. And since a tile end cover is usually inserted within a U channel of stainless steel, it's going to buckle or crack whatever material you have inserted within that tile and cover. And that's all I have today. Thanks for inviting me. And if you have any questions, I'll get to them as quickly as possible.
So Darryl, one question I have for you, a couple actually. If you're using like a glass door, is it not recommended to have the drain at the door because you've got a slope going up and that door might end up hitting the floor?
It depends. Usually if you're going to have a glass door, it should always open out. That way, if someone falls into the shower, you know, you can get into that shower to access that person. If the drain's at the entry and the door opens out, then you won't have a problem. If you locate it at the back wall, what they'll do is they'll take a glass panel, the trim, and they'll insert into that to account for the amount of the slope, or they'll use a pivot hinge. A pivot hinge rises as you open that door.
And then can you tell me what the capillary barrier means?
The capillary break is whenever you locate a drain at the entry of the shower, what they're going to do is on the outside of that shower, they're going to put a bead of silicone underneath the tile. So basically, it's a bead of silicone serving as a dam. So that way, if water wicks or somehow makes it past the drain, which is literally impossible, it's going to hit that bead of silicone and get forced back into the drain. But it's basically a bead of silicone serving as a dam underneath the tile on the outside of a shower if you're going to have the drain at the entry. Not important if you're going to have the drain located at the back wall.
So those drains, those linear drain covers, do they come in different finishes?
Yeah, now they do. Before we didn't have any real selection of finishes. One of the things that we run into a lot is that when you get to that 56-inch length, there aren't any PVD chambers big enough to hold the drain cover. So in those cases, it literally makes it impossible to get one of the nicer finishes. But what we've done in some cases, and especially some of the longer drains that we have to install, we've combined two covers. Our spacers will make it look completely solid all the way across, or we'll take those covers and then recommend they have them powder coated.
Cool. Well, thanks, Darryl. And I want to thank you also for helping many of the other fire families in Louisville, Superior areas of Colorado to get linear drains and also shower pans. You're making a big difference in a number of those families' homes.
Well, it's good for me because they make me feel so appreciated when I show up to the job site.
Well,
They didn't
that's
think I
great.
was going to deliver the drain, so yeah.
All right. So moving on, about the idea home. We're done with the excavation. We've got 47 caissons completed. We had to do caissons because we have an artifact in our soil here that is basically means it's expansive, so that when it gets wet, it will swell. So we had to drill these down about 28 feet down towards near bedrock, I guess you could say. And the house is actually situated on those caissons. Oh, actually, let's see. This is a video here. So it's actually, if I can get it to play, I actually have been trying to become a little bit more resourceful with the drone. And so you'll see some videos of what the property looks like in regards to all the various caissons and the various areas that are there. You see there's a kind of a unique topography going on here, that like that shelf on the back, that's actually for a patio that ended up having to have caissons as well. And all these caissons have 4 3/4-inch rebar going into it. And then when they pour the foundation, they actually splay them out so that it gives even more structure to the home. And then there's another shelf at the front, part for the garage and then part for the front porch. Again, the supports for the roof have to be on these caissons as well. So next, here's the foundation walls going up, and there were team of 13 guys working to put this up. It was really quite amazing, all the things that they had to do to be able to get these foundation walls up. Our foundation ends up having to be in the basement at least 9, actually more than 9 feet tall. It's almost 10 feet tall, because of ceiling is 10 feet, or excuse me, 9 feet in the basement. And then we're doing what's called a slab on void area. And that's my mound of dirt. It's amazing how much dirt that they had to excavate from the home. See, this is the same one. And then we go forward. Here's this is yesterday. They have both sides of the foundation in. They're going to be pouring concrete tomorrow, yay, for our home. And I think this is also a video. That's basically showing all the rebar. And there's an immense amount of rebar in the foundation, going horizontally and around corners and up and down. And here you see my neighbor's house. They're pouring the garage slab for them. And if I'm going too fast in this, I'm sorry. I'm still becoming a little bit more knowledgeable about this. These 2x4s and 2x6s you see there help brace the foundation from being pushed over by the immense weight of the concrete that's being poured into it. So that's what's happening there. All right. And then next month, we've got a whole flurry of things, even though the siding won't be going up, or the framing won't be going up probably until sometime in mid-May, but removing the foundation forms after they've poured it. They usually leave it in place for about 3 days. Painting the outside of the foundation, basement window installation, window well installation, installation of perimeter drain and sump pit. Because we're lowering the basement to be able to make it so that there's no steps into the house, we're having to put in a drain ejector pit. Then we do passive radon mitigation. Colorado's really bad for radon, and so they prefer to have it be done as part of new construction. And then backfilling the foundation, pouring the basement slab on grade. And what that means is there's actually a separation of the concrete between the bottom of the concrete and the dirt, again, because this expansive soil stuff. And then we get to start doing basement framing. So other things that especially Danny has been keenly involved in is new website, logo, social media. The new website is up and running. Partner pages are up, including TOTO and QuickDrain are there. And there are links to their sites there. Many photos and videos will be curated there as well. And other pages will be added in the near future. And then we've got these new logos that Danny and our really esteemed marketing expert, Mark Gillespie, have been working on. So we've made some fundamental changes to what we're doing there. And then we're also working with a social media company to expand our outreach. This is the first month of working with them, and really excited to be having them do our work. It's called Brand 52. And then we're also working with a publicist. There's been quite a number of articles and videos. We did a groundbreaking video last month. I should have put it up here, but nonetheless, we had 3 different Denver TV stations that came out to the groundbreaking, including interviewing me and Barbara Barton in that. And the publicist is working on many other press releases and articles for trade publications and the like, and then he's going to be working on doing blogs for us. So just to let everybody know, we've got the next 3 community forums scheduled. On May 10th will be Hunter Douglas window coverings, especially the motorized ones, along with auto slide door openers. They make both hinge door openers and sliding door openers. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say about their door openers, because we have 3 dogs, and it'd be nice to let our dogs wear an RFID tag, and they come up close to the door, and the door will open just enough for them to go through it and then close behind them. So I don't have to always be running downstairs to be able to let them out. In June, on the 14th, we have Josh.ai. They're a smart system controller. They're if you think, say, a Amazon Echo system is a good one, this is like taking it to the PhD level as to what their system's all about. And then Switchit electronic control equipment. Switchit makes a bunch of unique outlets and switches that have little modules that fit into them to allow people to be able to monitor temperature, humidity, particles, motion sensing. The list goes on and on as to what they do with it. And then July, we've got Delta Brizo and Steam Mist, talking about plumbing fixtures and steam showers, along with LG, HVAC and water heating. They are keenly involved in heat pumps, and I tell you, heat pumps are really taking off right now because the cost savings, especially in the summertime, to be able to cool your home is almost negligible. So that forum is on August 12th. And then the ones for August and beyond, they'll be posted here sometime soon. We're working with our partners to be able to get them up and running on that. So with that, I want to say thanks to both Mike Harrigan and Darryl Jones today. And let's see, there are some questions that came up here. I wasn't paying attention. Are you damp proofing or waterproofing the exterior of the foundation wall? Karen, I'm not certain what it's basically. They come in and they spray. They used to use like a tar black spray. Now they use a gray spray, but I'm guessing it is a damp proofing sort of thing to be able to keep the moisture from getting through into the foundation. And then Darryl, are you available to be able to review architectural drawings or shower linear drain installations? And you're still muted, Darryl. Oh, you answered the question. So
Yes.
there, Karen, you can, or anybody else for that matter, can reach out to Darryl in regards to what you may want to have done for linear drain installations. So with that, I've got a minute before the top of the hour. I usually don't end right at the top of the hour. But
I just want to let everybody know how helpful Darryl is. He came in at the 12th hour to solve a wall drain issue, and QuickDrain is absolutely the way to go. Just like TOTO is the way to go with the washlets. Buy the best quality you can afford, people. Don't skimp, and support these awesome individuals that are so giving of their time, talent, and treasure. I can't say enough about how responsive and just nimble and just a wealth of font of knowledge that both these gentlemen are. So very much appreciated on some recent projects. So I look forward to having those two projects, super slick and sexy in the Barbara Barton way, to showcase living in place standards. So yeah, go team living in place. It's awesome.
And the comments in here about the wonderful presentations, it's all upon our two esteemed presenters, not me. I just asked them to come aboard. They're the ones that make this really happen. So thank you.
We're just excited to be partners. Thanks, Louis. Thanks.
You're
Danny.
welcome.
Everybody.
Thanks for having us.
All right. I'm gonna stop the recording now. But thank you everybody for showing up. Let's see, it's stop record.